and set sail and went by the Marshall Islands. I told my wife so she'd know she had numbered the islands all in that area, knowing that's where I was going. And so most times I could just sign a number and she'd know where it was. Well, this one time I said, you remember Uncle Marshall? I had an uncle, my mother's brother. I said, well, he sure is a nice guy, and he described, well, that's the Marshall Islands.
So this was your way of getting past the censorship, really?
Correct.
So yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Because everything was censored.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were censored right here, censored by David Daggett. He was my assistant.
Now, how often were you able to get mail back and forth? I mean, being at sea, how did mail
That's a good
link
question.
up with you?
Interesting question. If you read these letters, you could get the full picture, because that's about all I talked about. I was looking for letters from her. Thank goodness I got lots of good letters from her. What would happen is, at sea, rarely did we get any kind of mail, of course, but they would have them come over and fly with letters, mail, to a certain point. Of course, Hawaii, there's no problem. They'd fly to Hawaii and bring them out with us. Or we'd go in with one of our LCVPs and pick it up. I talk about that in one of the letters. I thought that was a real privilege. In one case, I got to go with an LCVP and pick up her mail. Well, anyway, the way we would get our mail, and again, if you read the letters, sometimes it'd be 30 days before we'd get any mail, because we weren't anywhere near land, you see. But generally speaking, they'd fly it into, say, Saipan, and bring it by a small boat, or we'd go into a certain place and pick it up. We had a person aboard our ship that was our mail officer. It wasn't an officer mail. He was ranked a mailman. He did everything else that everybody else did, except when the mail was in, he'd go get the mail. And we'd have a mail call, of course. I'd get 30 letters at a time, and that's the way she also would get that many. She said, one of her letters I was reading last night, she had been out to her folks' place, which is east of Lawton, and came in one Sunday evening, and somebody that she was working at that time for soil conservation, when I went overseas. She went as a secretary of soil conservation, had a good boss, and all the people around her apparently in the post office knew where I was. So they were apparently very good to her to bring her the letters. Whenever they'd come, she'd get them. But, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
One of them I was reading last night is some person that worked at the post office saw 5 letters come to her. So they came to her house and brought it to her. She had a lot of that kind of thing going on. I'm real sorry. Gets me.
Yeah. You talk a little bit about war conditions. I mean, particularly someone like myself that has no idea what it's like to be in a war situation. The violence that's going on, like the kamikazes and such. How was that to be in the middle of that? How did you keep your wits about you in situations like that?
That's a tough question. Some of the boys did cook. That's where I was the chaplain, if you will, kind of the counselor that was listening to some of the fellows that was having trouble. But on the other hand, from my viewpoint, and I have to say to you that most of that wartime, all the wartime, I was married and I had a wonderful, sweet wife. If you could read the letters, you'd see that she was my strength day to day. So it was just unimaginable, I'd have to say to you. I cannot really describe it in a good fashion way, I've talked about what things happened in certain situations, but I did not break down. My skipper did, by the way. He got a letter from his wife and he broke down. We had to help him out. But anyway, because of my wife, I was able to keep pretty good mentality. So, you know, you've got shell blasts going on. It's, again, hard to describe. You see on the island, you see the things taking place, fellows being shot up. It's impossible to draw a picture. It was just survival. It's pretty all you can say. I didn't worry a lot about it, quite frankly. I always said if I had a bunk, I had a good bunk. If I didn't have it, it was too late to worry about. That's just my attitude, the way I took it. And I've said that many times. But seeing what, let me say, other fellows go through right beside you was hard to describe. Impossible for me to describe because I break up too easily. I used not be able to even talk about any of that without doing what I'm doing now. And I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just couldn't hold it. But it was just survival day to day.